We're back again. We're looking at another question we asked in the recent Housing Committee in June 2023. And this question, again, kind of was on the back of another question. So, Shannon, it was your question. I'll let you talk about it in a minute, obviously. But yeah, as I say, this followed on from a question you asked, I think, in November, which is around how does the council ensure that it picks up on people's disabilities? So, for example, if someone's got a learning difficulty and they're trying to use the housing register, like as in use the online form, like how does the council help them? How does the council even know they need help? And so in that question, just by asking that question in that committee, Lee Fanko, who's the head of service, had just immediately said, "Yeah, fair enough, we need to change it." And as far as we can tell, they've changed it. So that's a really good example of how you ask these questions, and you can get immediate results, immediate improvements. And it might seem like a really minor thing, but actually, when you look at the Equality Act, you look at how much good stuff is in there. If the council know that someone's got a disability, and particularly they know that they need to make some reasonable adjustments to their service, then actually that can make a massive difference to actually a surprising number of people. So there's some other issues around the Equality Act and homelessness within these themes of these questions that we've asked. But that was a really good example of a nice, short, sharp question. You got an immediate response. And so, as I say, this question was on the back of that one, Shannon. So do you want to kind of explain what it was you're asking this time?
Yeah, so I was asking this time whether they would also be able to recognise Part 7 applications. So whether the housing register, which is all Part 6 of the Housing Act, whether that would pick up on the fact if someone says, I'm experiencing domestic abuse, which would fall under homelessness, Part 7 of the Housing Act. And I think the answer, interestingly, goes back to previous video where we discussed sort of caseloads. And the answer was sort of, well, we do try, but it's not immediate. Now, Part 7 applications are, require an immediate response. So arguably, it's not good enough. If someone is applying to the housing register because they think that that's the right way to address their homelessness, which isn't an unreasonable thing to think, because a lot of websites are set up with that, and it's the sort of the clearest form to fill in. It's the most proactive that you're feeling. I think it falls short, and Lee recognised that. I think he said he was going to look into what they can do about that.
Yeah, cool. Well, whilst you're looking, Shannon, I'll just add something in there. So again, housing committees made up of councillors, probably with no background in housing at all, or homelessness. And so in your question, you basically quoted the code of guidance within it. So you basically said how housing authorities should take particular attention to identify instances where essentially a Part 6 application actually triggers Part 7. So as you say, someone makes a Part 6 application online and they tick the domestic abuse box. Well, the council's now got reason to believe they might be homeless, and they've asked the council for help. So Section 184 has been triggered, and the Homelessness Code of Guidance specifically spells out that council should be really, kind of sharp on recognising those kind of times when that's happening. And as you say, again, I like the fact that Lee's honest. He just kind of says, well, we try our best, and that's in times gone by, the council say, oh, well, we always do it right. And he's like, we know you don't, so stop saying that. But he's actually saying, well, yeah, it's something he's going to look into and kind of look to make some improvements and work out how we can do it. So yeah, but yeah, so yeah, what else you want to pick up on that one?
I think I'm hopeful that he will actually implement some form of strategy with the online form to sort of ping that across to a housing options officer straight away. I think it, naively, knowing nothing about IT systems, it must be fairly easy. And within that question, obviously, I got the clarification around the previous ones in regards to disabilities. And they've added the two questions: one, if you have a disability, and provide details of the disability is a second question. I think ideally we'll try and push that to go a little bit further and sort of ask how that affects the person. Because as we all know, things like autism, anxiety, so many disabilities don't necessarily present the same way in every person. And actually what's important is what support you need throughout that process. So, and I feel like Lee's quite on board with this. I think it's probably quite nice that he's able to sort of have a quick fix. And it's really encouraging that they're up for doing this.
Yeah. And I guess just to kind of, so I'm working on a complaint with another council where exactly that happens. So the individual applies to the housing register, ticked the domestic abuse box, and nothing happened for months, and they were subject to further abuse. So that's and then once it's with the LGO, I think they'll probably uphold it. To be honest, I can't see how they won't. So that's kind of, what we're really talking about here. So again, it seems like a really sort of weird technical thing to ask for, but it's so that people approaching the council under Part 6, because they don't know the difference between Part 6 and Part 7, because why would they? Actually, they get picked up urgently when they need to be, as the law requires. And this has got a bit of history in Bedford. So with Just Us, so John Allen at Just Us, he had a case a few years ago in Bedford where a lady who was very unwell, let's just put it like that, undergoing hospital treatment, and she couldn't get out of her flat 'cause it was a first floor flat, very steep staircase, and so she was having to get stretchered out of the flat to go to hospital by the paramedics. And she made the council aware of this in the Part 6 application. So, I can't even get up my stairs right now, which should have given the council reason to believe that she might have been homeless. So one of the kind of notes for next time is, that kind of question, as you say, about, okay, well, you've changed the form, you're now picking up on the disabilities.
I think naively, I would also sort of ask perhaps if staffing is outside of the housing committee's remit, then is it okay to give an answer where you're essentially saying we're understaffed and this is why we're not following the law to a T as an answer? Is that justifiable? If I kind of feel like if you're giving it as a reason, then perhaps it does fall under the remit. And I feel like a conversation, like a nice, just like a what's going on, because it could be a really good opportunity to help support the council in recruiting some really good more staff. Like, I think we're all for that on every side. I think it would ease up everyone's sort of workload if it was inside the remit of the committee. But yeah, I don't quite understand how you can give an answer when it's outside of the remit.
I mean, I can't. I guess it's a little bit frustrating that kind of, that's the answer. I've been a few times now, but it doesn't set out clearly what their remit is and what they can and can't do. So it'd almost be nice to have on a website. This is what you can ask, and this is what you can't ask. This is what the councils can do. This is what they can't. So